Welcome, friends. Today I will share with you an emotional story inspired by the title, No Maid Lasted with the Millionaire's Little Daughter, until a new maid did the impossible. The mansion was grand, filled with light, laughter of parties, and the noise of business meetings. Yet inside one small room sat a little girl with eyes full of sadness. She had lost her mother too soon. And though her father provided her with every comfort money could buy, her heart longed for something money could never give: warmth, love, and a motherly touch. One after another, maids were hired. They tried for a while, but none could bear the silence, the sudden tears, and the pain hidden behind the child's innocent blue eyes. They left quickly, leaving the little girl lonelier than before. The father, a man of wealth and power, felt helpless. His business success meant nothing when he saw his daughter broken inside. One morning, a new maid arrived. She was simple, gentle, and carried kindness in her eyes. When she first met the child, the little girl turned her face away, expecting her to walk out just like all the others. But instead of leaving, the maid sat beside her quietly, waiting with patience. Slowly, she reached out her hand and touched the child's hair. The girl froze, then without realizing, leaned into her arms. Tears fell, but this time they were not of loneliness. They were of release. The maid whispered softly, "I am here, and I will not leave you." For the first time in months, the child's lips curved into a smile, fragile but real. At the doorway, the father stood silently watching this miracle. His eyes softened, his heart trembled. He had never seen his daughter so at peace. That simple moment showed him that true wealth lies not in riches, but in compassion and love. The impossible had happened. A broken little heart was healed, and an unexpected bond was formed. The mansion was no longer empty, because kindness had entered its walls. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. My channel name is Soul of Kindness. Welcome, friends. Here is another emotional scene for the title. No maid lasted with the millionaire's little daughter, until a new maid did the impossible. The little girl sat curled up by the window of her huge bedroom. The golden sunlight poured through the curtains, but for her the world felt grey. Toys lay scattered untouched. Every time a maid tried to approach, she would cry or hide, her tiny heart convinced that no one would ever stay. She had lost trust, she had lost warmth. Her father, a powerful millionaire, stood helpless. He could negotiate million-dollar deals, but he could not win his daughter's smile. Each night he would watch her fall asleep with tears on her cheeks, and each morning his guilt grew heavier. Then came the new maid. She didn't rush to impress or try to force the child's affection. Instead, she sat quietly on the floor near her, humming a gentle lullaby. The little girl glanced at her with suspicion, but felt something different: patience. Days passed, and the maid never gave up. When the child refused food, she sat with her until she took a bite. When the nightmares came, she held her hand until the tears stopped. One evening, when the girl had another breakdown, the maid didn't step back like the others. She wrapped the child in her arms and whispered, "I know you're hurting, but I will not leave you. Even if you cry, even if you push me away, I will stay." The girl clung to her tightly, sobbing into her chest. For the first time in years, her broken heart believed in love again. From the doorway, her father watched with tears in his eyes. His stone-cold heart trembled at the sight. His daughter was smiling in someone's embrace. The mansion that once echoed with emptiness now carried the warmth of a family. This was the impossible that had finally become possible. A stranger's kindness had healed a wound that wealth never could. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. My channel name is Soul of Kindness. Welcome, friends. Here is the third emotional scene for the story. No maid lasted with the millionaire's little daughter, until a new maid did the impossible. The rain tapped softly against the tall glass windows of the mansion. The little girl sat on the edge of her bed, hugging her knees. Her eyes filled with the kind of loneliness no child should ever know. She whispered to herself, "Everyone leaves. No one stays." Her fragile voice carried the weight of countless disappointments. Her father stood in the hallway, watching silently. His heart ached. He could buy her the most expensive dresses, the grandest toys, even build her a castle if she wanted. But he could not give her the comfort of a mother's arms. Every maid had tried, and every maid had failed. His daughter's wounds were too deep, her trust too broken. That evening, the new maid entered quietly, carrying not gifts but a small storybook. She didn't force a smile or ask the girl to sit with her. Instead, she opened the book and began to read aloud in a soft, gentle tone. Her voice floated through the room like a warm melody. The little girl turned her head slowly, curiosity flickering in her sad eyes. The maid continued reading, describing a brave princess who had lost her way, but found light again through kindness. As the words sank into the child's heart, she slipped off the bed and walked closer, her tiny steps hesitant but hopeful. She sat beside the maid and whispered, "Will the princess really be happy?" The maid looked at her with tears in her eyes and replied, "Yes, because someone will stay with her forever." In that moment, the girl leaned into the maid's arms, letting herself believe for the first time that maybe, just maybe, this time was different. The father, standing at the doorway, covered his mouth to hide his trembling lips. A single tear escaped his eye. He wasn't just witnessing his daughter's healing, he was witnessing a miracle. The mansion, once filled with silence and sorrow, now echoed with something far more precious than wealth: love, trust, and the sound of a little girl's laughter returning at last. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. My channel name is Soul of Kindness. Welcome, friends. Here is the fourth emotional scene for the story. No maid lasted with the millionaire's little daughter, until a new maid did the impossible. The night was quiet in the enormous mansion, but inside the little girl's room, her cries echoed like thunder. She had woken from another nightmare, clutching a blanket, trembling with fear. Every maid before had panicked and left, unable to handle her screams. But tonight, something was different. The new maid rushed in, not with fear, but with calmness in her eyes. She sat on the floor beside the bed and gently reached for the child's hand. "Shh, I'm here," she whispered softly, brushing away the child's tears. The girl shook her head, sobbing, "No, you'll leave like everyone else. Everyone leaves me." Her words broke the maid's heart into pieces. The maid took a deep breath, pulled the little girl into her lap, and held her tightly, as though she were her own daughter. "Listen to me," she said firmly but tenderly. "I am not going anywhere. Even if you scream, even if you cry, even if you push me away, I will stay by your side. You are not alone anymore." The girl's sobs slowly quieted. Her small hands gripped the maid's clothes, as if she was holding on for dear life. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe. She buried her face in the maid's shoulder and whispered, "Please, don't let me go." At the doorway, her father stood frozen. He had heard every word. His powerful hands trembled, his eyes welled with tears he could no longer hide. This was the moment he had prayed for, the moment his daughter finally found the love she had been craving. He realized then that no amount of money, no expensive gift, could heal his child the way this woman's kindness had. The mansion, once cold and silent, now glowed with warmth. In that tender embrace, a broken little girl found her safe haven, and a father discovered the priceless value of love. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. My channel name is Soul of Kindness.